Thank you, Rocco. Mariana, before you leave.
No, I'll stay. I'm going to stay.
Okay, good. Always a pleasure to hear you. You are losing none of your fire. And I just love it. And well, I could sign everything that you just mentioned. So the question is, what responsibility do political leaders have for healing patient Europe? I can answer very briefly, a big responsibility. So thank you for listening to me. And let's go to the... Now, you want a bit more? Well, we have a big responsibility because first, we, and I say we in Europe, still live under rule of law. It is imperfect, it is being threatened, it is, how should I say, sick. But by and large, we are still living under rule of law. And as it happens, politicians are writing the laws. That's important because, you know, it's different in other jurisdictions, but at least in Europe, we can say that we politicians have a big responsibility. And the best proof of it is the amount of money, time, and energy that holders of economic power spend on trying to influence us. Oftentimes, people complain about lobbying in Brussels or Washington. But actually, that amount of lobbying is a testament to the power we have. So those who claim that politicians have no power then should question the sanity of those who spend zillions trying to influence us. Because what the heck, if we can't influence things, if we can't write laws? It's really important to know that, because indeed it sets the thing into the perspective that it's not that politicians are powerless. It's maybe they are reluctant to exert political will. And that is very important as a starting point. Now, there's an element in the title and the organization, Patient Europe, which tends to indicate that we have something that is sick or someone who is sick. And there I would totally agree with the reading of Christophe earlier. I do believe that the main cause for people turning their backs on Europe, and they are a minority in Europe, I'm glad to say that, it has more to do with the policies that are carried out. Starting about 40 years ago, and I agree with you, Jeffrey, it was under influence of the Anglo-Saxon world, but also out of their free will, that the two political families that shaped post-war Europe, the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats, gradually and at different speeds within different countries, elected to choose a vision of the human being that basically says, the human being is an homo, not femina, economicus. That is, actually, human beings are solely driven by the maximization of their utility function, which, to put it in plain language, that means that the only thing that interests a human being is to maximize his personal interest expressed in things that have a price, because for an economist, something that has no price has no value. Whereas we, in common language, say, if something is priceless, it means it has a lot of value, right? But that concept of homo economicus, of course, has consequences. The only way to mediate between human people, because there's no such thing as society, as you know, is the market. And the only way to measure this Pareto optimum for society is basically the growth of GDP. And that vision became dominant. That vision that doesn't stem from traditional Christian humanism or from socialism was adopted by those two families. And it is the Washington consensus. It became the basis of politics, of policies. That is, the only goal is the economy. Everything has to serve the economy, because when the economy is good, life is good. As if all these things stem from one another. And make the rich richer, because at the end of the day, everyone benefits. This trickle-down economics, but we heard this morning that we're witnessing is wealth concentration and trickle-up. And people are not stupid. And by the way, all citizens have been very patient, because it took them about 25 to 30 years to start rebelling by voting national populist, by deserting the big parties. But that is the result. And so indeed, I agree with you, Jeffrey, that the achievements of Sweden and Finland are impressive, but why is it that about 15 years ago, far-right parties started gathering an impressive share of the vote in those countries because those countries adopted precisely these neoliberal policies. And so this is good news. This is good news because there's still time, I think, to heal patient Europe, because no, not every European has turned its back on patient Europe. No, the rule of law has not been weakened in such a way like in America. And I would agree again with what Jeffrey said about the fact that the situation is much scarier in the US than it is in the European Union. So there's still a possibility to heal patient Europe. But that means going back to our fundamental values. And there, Rocco, I would agree and disagree with you. I would agree with you that it is because or since European policymakers, shifted away from what you call the Christian values. And I would agree with you, I'm Christian myself, but those values that are enshrined in Article 2 of the treaty, starting with human dignity. And this is how, when people ask me how to define the common good that many of you mentioned, what is the common good? What allows us to progress in the promise of fulfilling Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All human beings are born free, they are equals in rights and in dignity. This is a promise. This is not reality. And we want to fulfill that promise. And when you speak about goal orientation, Mariana, that is it. Anything that allows us to progress on fulfilling that promise is what we need to do. And all the rest has to serve that, because that is what we want. And again, we are speaking here in the Vatican, and you know, I like to say I'm Christian and I'm Democrat. And this is why I could never have been Christian Democrat. Because I felt that the family from which my family is coming from, and naturally I should, if I went to politics, have become a Christian Democrat politician, I couldn't do this. Because I want to go back to this value, this fundamental value that all human beings are born equals. And that stems, I see the link with the message of the gospel. I cannot fail to see it. I cannot fail to see it. So that is the condition. The condition, if we want to reconcile all citizens with that, they must feel, not just hear or understand, they must feel in their bodies that basically what we are trying to do as communities in Europe, and especially at the European level, at the EU level, contributes to this. By and large, we will always bicker that there's not enough of this or more of that. But when you drive deregulation, free trade agreements, a monetary union without a fiscal union, you know that this drives competition on social norms, environmental norms, and surprise, surprise, it's leveling down. So indeed, you can say, okay, let's level up, like Boris Johnson is saying in the UK, but that is trying to fix something that is broken. Why don't we design policies that are geared towards delivering good outcomes? I like what you said, Mariana, about pre-distribution, not redistribution. We don't want to fix this system. We want to change it. It is about, I wasn't there yesterday and I really missed it. I was driving from Strasbourg yesterday, but it is about a paradigm shift. Last remarks, I try to be short. Why did we get there? Some might say politicians are corrupt. I hated when I heard, I think, Richard Horton saying there's no political accountability whatsoever. Okay, basically all politicians are corrupt and rotten. They are rotten politicians, I agree with that. But when at one time you say, I want people to still believe in the European Union, in the possibility of our democracies to do good, and at the same time say there is no political accountability whatsoever, you just contribute to destroy trust. And trust is the basic ingredient of living together. And that I really resent. I think it's really counterproductive. Why did we get there? Yeah, some politicians are corrupt, and it's a fact that we have revolving doors, that we have also political decision makers who stand to win personally from doing stuff that benefits the capital owners. That is evidence. There is evidence for that. But by and large, the problem is that in the political class, if you want to call it like that, too many people actually believe that making the rich richer benefits everyone, believe this sorry, I shouldn't say that, bullshit that is being taught still nowadays in economics faculties, that indeed this neoclassical stuff, they honestly believe it. Because indeed, and that is what Edward Lucas was saying, they do not spend enough time on the ground to check whether this is all true or actually it is totally misleading. And that combination of corruption and isolation from reality produces that kind of result. Finally, I do believe that COVID is an opportunity because it has shattered so many elements of common neoliberal wisdom that the state is only there to fix market problems, that the economy should, well, that life should serve the economy. No, it's the other way around. It's so obvious, but we needed COVID to be reminded of that. That's a good thing, but the risk that I see, and Mariana, I don't know whether you share that, but I meet an increasing number of young people who have grown so impatient and so disillusioned with politics that they are giving up. Climate marchers, 2 years ago, they were in the streets. Today, they tell me, you can't expect anything from politics. I won't even bother to vote. And that is dangerous. So it's a race against time. I hope that we will win it. One last thing.
Philippe, I beg your pardon. I must remember you exactly the tyranny of time.
No, but that's okay. I can stop here and take a few questions.
Oh, you have still a few minutes.
Okay, then 2 more remarks. Some people talked about, well, politicians taking decisions top down. That is true, but indeed there are rules of the game, and the rules of the game are pretty much written within the democratic institution. But that does not go against the idea that change is at the same time top down and bottom up. To me, democratic institutions have to become, as quickly as possible, instruments not of just top-down management, but collective intelligence. We are far from it, and that means much more participative democracies. Finally, a big danger that I see, Laurence mentioned that earlier. If you look at the 2 main challenges, basically having our societies fit within the planetary boundaries and doing that while reducing inequality, again, a decent life for everyone, the levers for the climate environmental action are pretty much at European level. The levers for social action are pretty much at national level. And if you don't have cooperation between the two, then you end up into the Gilets jaunes, and rightfully so. And I feel now a growing appetite to do something real with the European Green Deal. There, Jeffrey was right. This Green Deal is real. It is yet to become reality, but the intentions are real. But the thing is that I do not feel on the member state level the same appetite for paradigm shift. Yet you cannot have the same social security system, taxation system, labor market organization in a world that respects the planetary boundaries. You need changes there too, and massive changes, if you want everyone to live a fulfilling life. And the tension that I see there is indeed very interesting, but scary at the same moment. But if I didn't believe we can do it, I wouldn't be here.